is a collection of clips that are in wave format that are in audio tracks. Now, each one of these clips I did create just in MIDI, and then I froze them and flattened them and turned them into waves. So together, each one of these clips will fit neatly with the other one because it's one composition. So these are 4 layers. Each sound I'm gonna let you hear. So here's the first loop. So some nice deep dark bass. Let's look at the second loop here. Instead of hi-hats with a nice solid trunk rattler. How about this one? Kind of a tine piano. And then we have this pad. So if I sync all those together, and they're all in the same tempo, and they're all in the same key, it's this one really solid compositional piece. Okay, so what this takes is if you're going to write something like this, of course, you're already aware of the fact that you've got to have everything in the same tempo, everything's got to be in the same key. The parts are going to have to fit together neatly, and it's kind of like putting together a Lego set, or a puzzle. It's every piece has to fit just right for it to come out the way that you created it to be. Now, oftentimes when we assemble music from loops, we're kind of chasing things. We're chasing tempo, we're chasing key, we're trying to find out what fits with what. So knowing that each one of these pieces of the puzzle, each one of these audio clips that are loops, fit together sure makes life a lot simpler. We're going to look a little bit at how this all can happen with found loops. So I'm going to just do something very straightforward, very simple here. So I'm going to do a new live set. So I'll pull that up. I'm going to put it into our session view. I'm going to get rid of the MIDI because we're not using MIDI today. We're using audio. Now what I want to find is a sample here. So in the sample set, I'm going to find something that's got maybe a beat to it or something like that. So we've got all sorts of things in here. Let's look at this. Okay. So immediately what you're noticing, this is a drum loop, excuse me. And it says in here, it's an 80s beat at 90 BPM. Now, it says it's going 90 beats per minute. If you look up here in the upper left-hand corner of Ableton, you'll notice that it's defaulting to 120 beats per minute. Now, I want to show you something very interesting about Ableton. Ableton was designed principally to be a DJ program. So beat matching, key matching is something that's definitely in the realm of possibilities for this. Now notice 90 BPM wave. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to drag this into a clip. And when I've got this here, when I play it, it's maintained the beat per minute that it had originally in its metadata. But what's changed? Look, 90 BPM is now what Ableton is tracking in. In other words, what happened is Ableton saw the transients and it warped to it. You see this? You see these little notches here, these little arrows? That's the warping. It's finding the beat based upon the transients. Now, here's what happens in Ableton. If you drag and drop a loop into place in Ableton, it will automatically set the tempo, the master tempo of the session to whatever that first loop is, unless you do one thing. And we'll get to that here in just a second. So you've got that. Okay, so there's that 80s beat. And I mean, we could kind of look along here and see if we could find something else with a BPM to it. What else would have a BPM to it? So, I don't know. Let me look along the way here. Oh, well, there's a shaker. Well, that shaker says 80 BPM. Well, what's going to happen? It's different. It's not 90 BPM, right? It's not 90 beats per minute. It's 80. Well, I wonder what it's going to do. So let's drag and drop it over here, and it's going to automatically create another audio track. And you're going to notice when we clicked on this, it went ahead and warped it. See that word warp? It went ahead and warped it. And did this change to 80? No, it stayed at 90 BPM. So that when I play these two together in a scene, that it's going to sync those together, right? It's going to change the BPM of one to make it, match the first one. Okay, here's another. Let's go in deeper. Here's 770 BPM. Let's listen to this. Okay, so let's grab and drag that into a third track. Did it change it? No, but it did change the bell brush sound. So let's listen to this together in a scene. So everything's is syncing together at 90 BPM. So this is the way that Ableton's always going to work. Ableton is always going to take the first loop that you place, and it's going to establish the master tempo. And then what it's going to do next is it's going to go about the business of every other audio loop that's going to be drug into the into other tracks is going to match the master. It's going to match the master tempo. Now, the only way to alter this is to do this. It has to be done at the scene level. So over here to your right in the scene level, if you want to change the overall tempo of a song or just the overall tempo of a scene, you can right-click on that, and it has here Edit Launch Tempo. Edit Launch Tempo. So you're going to click on that, and you'll notice that there'll be a 1 for scene 1, a colon, and the cursor is blinking before BPM. So I'm gonna raise the tempo up to 100. So I'm gonna hit 100. Typed it in, hitting enter. Oops, excuse me. Hitting enter. And now when I hit play, now look at this. The master tempo is now up to 100. Now before, what I've done is I've selected all these guys. I've alt-clicked and dragged and made copies. Now I want you to notice something here. I hit this. I just copied all 3 of these loops, okay? And they're all still, if you look, they all still have their own BPM. That has 70, that has 80, and that has 90 BPM. Now, when I launch it in the first scene, okay, I've changed the scene tempo to 100 BPM. Now, watch what happens when I hit the second scene. it's stuck to the same BPM. And the only way that's ever going to change from scene to scene, and this is interesting because some songs will have like a really up tempo, verse, and then when they go for their hook, then they may ever so slightly increase the tempo or ever so slightly slow it down. So when I right click on this, I can go edit launch tempo, and I'm going to attempt to make it a little slower. So I'm going to go 98 and hit enter. Okay. So now the first opening here. Ever so slightly slower. All right. So this is always going to be the case when matching the beat in Ableton. So it's really super important to know that warping will warp your tempos of the entire composition, the entire piece, based upon the first loop that you install into a clip slot, and then every loop that you install in other tracks after that you drag and drop in there will warp into the tempo that your initial clip warped in or was in originally, and it'll warp the master tempo. And that only changes if you right click on the scene and tell it to edit the launch tempo. Okay, so that's our little lesson today in Ableton Live.